Good afternoon, everyone. So I've got a lot to talk about, so I figured I'd just jump right in. So first of all, last week was a very busy week. There's a lot going on. I will admit I'm a little tired, but it was a very productive week. So first off, I had 3 awesome L10s, some of the highest scores I've gotten in a long time. I was very happy about that and feel like things are really starting to click. Second of all, I had a couple of really good client meetings. It's always nice when you meet with a client and they tell you that everything is great and that they love you and that there's nothing you can do to be better. You don't get to hear that a lot, but it's certainly nice when you do get to hear it. So know that not everything is a mess. Then also, I think kind of big picture, what I liked about last week was for the first time since I've changed roles, it felt like I wasn't just treading water. This week I can say I really felt like I took a couple of strokes towards land. And while I know there's an incredibly long journey ahead and that it's going to be hard and I'm going to be exhausted by the end of it, it does just feel good to be swimming, and it feels good to be making progress and to be taking strokes in the right direction. So I got to say I'm pretty excited about that. So some important updates. First, I want to give you guys just kind of a little sneak peek into some stuff that's been happening in L10 meetings. One of the things that I've noticed is a lot of stuff gets discussed and it gets moved to either somebody's to-do item or it becomes another meeting, and then not a lot of stuff just gets decided. So one of the things I've been trying to work on is just try to get more action and more decisions being made right in the meeting so that we can keep things moving forward. So I had a couple of examples for you guys I want to share with you. So one example came up in a meeting at ELT, which is who's going to approve when sales are being put into MIA below margin. And there's a lot of talk about it, and it could have been a long whole thing with a complicated process, but ultimately what we decided was just have Tyler approve it. Tyler knows what he's doing. He's been around long enough. And then just have Tyler shoot an email out to the OLT once a week saying, here's all the sales that went through that were under margin that had to get overridden. I think that's enough information for us. It keeps us moving forward, and most importantly, we don't get stuck kind of creating another process that we don't need right now. Another example, in an OLT meeting, there was a scorecard item that nobody could determine what we're supposed to do about it when it's bad, and so the ultimate conclusion was just kill it. We don't need to be tracking data that doesn't tell us stuff that we can take action on right now, so we just removed it. Another example, which I think is one that a lot of people will be excited to hear, is that we've had for many months now clients asking, is there any way they can convert their rollover hours into after hours that can be used on server maintenance and things like that? And I don't think anybody's ever really brought this up for official discussion. It hasn't really ever gotten anywhere. It came up at ELT this week, and we just, within a few minutes, made a decision that yes, we're going to allow clients to take rollover hours, convert them to after hours at a ratio of 2 to 1, and move forward. So you'll hear more about that soon. And then finally, last example is there's a lot of confusion about what the company ROC about getting every client re-onboarded meant. And rather than making that a whole big thing, we just simply decided to define that ROC as we will call a client as being re-onboarded when they have a reoccurring call scheduled. So if all of our clients have reoccurring calls scheduled, that means that we're 100% complete and we meet the ROC. If not all of our clients do, then we don't meet the ROC. Pretty easy, pretty simple to track. So I'll move into my thank yous for the week. The first thank you I want to throw out is to the people who showed up yesterday for the Crossathon. I know I had a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, and it was a long day, but we got through a lot, and the time really flew by. I think we couldn't believe how much time had passed every time we looked at the clock. I think what we learned was exactly what needs to happen and a little bit of understanding about what it's going to take to get some big stuff done. We started tackling stuff like job descriptions and realize that these are going to be big projects if we don't do them the right way, and they're never going to get done. So I think what we really learned was what do we need to do to accelerate and fast track this stuff so that we can get people the answers they need. So I'm very, very grateful to those of you who came out on a Saturday and gave up a day to help out with some of this stuff. It was really fun, and I'm very, very grateful for you doing so. The other throw out I want to give is a little bit tricky because I don't know who to give it out to. But Luke and a couple others were telling me yesterday during the Crossathon about a new term called tech check that somebody invented. So I don't know who it was, but I want to say a big thank you to that person. I have certainly been hearing a lot more negativity about our clients and even sometimes about coworkers than I ever used to. And that's a very dangerous thing that we've got to be careful of. It's really important to remember that yes, our clients can be frustrating and annoying at times, but without them, we don't have a business. And it's easy to complain about the 5-hour contract or the 25-hour account that doesn't always do what you say, or the challenges. And it's also really easy to say, let's just get rid of them and fire them. But what we've got to remember is that those are the clients that are paying our bills, that are keeping us in business, that are giving us the privilege and the opportunities that we have. And it's really important that we keep the right mindset about that. The same goes for our coworkers. It's easy to pick on each other and give each other a hard time, but at the end of the day, we're all on the same team, we're all working together, and we're all trying to get to the same goal. And the more that we work together as a team and have strong team health, the easier it's going to be to get there. So I love this idea of whenever you catch somebody kind of maybe going off a little bit and maybe going a little negative, just calling them out and saying tech check, and asking them kind of just by saying that to reevaluate where they're at and to maybe rethink what they're saying. So I encourage all of you to continue, whoever started this great term, and call people out just with a quick tech check when they're going negative and bring them back around positive. So thank you to whomever came up with that. The question for this week wasn't officially submitted, but it was asked of me during a meeting, and I thought it was great, which was, can I purchase, carry around, and then literally wear different hats based on which role I'm fulfilling in that given time? I think this is a really funny idea, but I also think it might actually have some value. So I am going to do some research and see if there's a way for me to get hats that might represent the different seats I wear in the company, or the different seats I sit in the company, and then wear those respective hats to help communicate who I am at that moment. This might work, it might not, but it's definitely worth a shot. I liked it. So then on to the main point this week, because that's where I've got a lot to talk about. Before I really get into the meat of it, what I want to share with you guys is some words of wisdom that somebody just recently imparted on me, which is good intentions don't cancel out failure. What they meant by that is that just because we mean well, if we fail, we still have to acknowledge it, we still have to take accountability, we have to apologize, and we still have to do something about it, no matter how good our intentions were that resulted in the failure itself. And I think that's an easy thing to forget or excuse something because people had good intentions. But in that spirit, I want to officially state the obvious, which are things aren't perfect right now. There are plenty of things that are working, but there's a lot that isn't. And that isn't fair to you guys and isn't fair to our clients. And I want you guys to know that I know this, that I'm incredibly sorry that this is the case and that we've gotten here. And I also want you to know that I'm not going to stop until it's fixed. You can hold me 100% accountable that I will take care of these issues, and I will work with my team and with you guys, and we will work together to get this stuff resolved. But I'm not going to stop, and nobody will work harder than I will to make these things right for you guys. So if you continue to bear with me and give me time, I will continue to show you guys results, and we will fix this stuff. So with that in mind, what I want to do is take the 30-day plan that I announced last week and expand on it a little bit. So last week I announced that I'd taken everything I'd heard from you, from our clients, and everything that I observed, and I'd assembled a set of priorities that I want to be tackled. This week I've begun to expand on those priorities, creating specific initiatives or tasks that I want to be accomplished, and then I've begun tasking them out to different people in the company. So first of all, Jim, his primary focus is to get me more CSEs. We need more CSEs. I don't think anybody would argue with that. And we need them as quickly as possible. Specifically, we need techs that can hit the ground running and take billable work without a lot of training and kind of up ramp. So Jim's been doing a great job with this. We already have maybe an offer letter out as early as next week, a couple other strong candidates in the pipeline. So I feel confident that we're going to be able to get the resources that we need there pretty soon. Second, I tasked Duran with the responsibility of getting us monitoring tools that work and that allow us to deliver on the promises we've made to our clients. The more I kind of learn about our monitoring tools, the more I learn that they don't match up with what we've sold to our clients. We're not able to get the alerts the way we need them, clean and simple, in a way that allows us to do what we've told our clients we can do. And that's got to change. So I've asked Duran to work with whoever he needs to get me a proposal that shows us how we're going to get that back on track. Next, I've asked Emily to map out the projects department. And what I've asked her to do is show us how we can use projects as a valuable service to both us and our clients to make it easier, faster, and more efficient for projects to get sold and delivered. I've heard a lot of tension around the projects department maybe being too complicated or getting in the way, when in fact I think they can be a tremendous asset and a huge resource to our staff. And so what I want to do is help Emily and work with her and her team to help us all understand how do we use projects as a resource to make our jobs better and easier and to serve our clients better than we're doing today. I'm very excited about the work she's doing there, and she's already got off to a great start. Next up is Peter. I've asked him to take over a pretty important responsibility, which is helping me get control over customer satisfaction. First, I've asked him to sort all of our clients into 3 categories. I want to know who's happy, who's unhappy, and who's very unhappy. And I don't want this information just to be for my eyes. I want this to be incredibly visible. For example, I think he's talking about possibly putting up every client's name on the baby wall, and then where they are on the wall would dictate kind of what level of dissatisfaction or satisfaction they have with Paragus at that time. I want to do this in a way that not only can every employee see it, but that every employee has the right to walk over and move a customer from one bucket into another. So that if you just get off the phone with a customer and you know they're really unhappy, that you can instantly tell us all that by moving that customer into that bucket. I think this is going to help us to just get a little bit more visually aware of what's going on and get our arms around it. Second, I then want to work with Peter to come up with a strategy to target especially the very unhappy customers and work with them to buy us some time to show them that we can do better. I feel like if we get out in front of our clients and let them know that we know things aren't perfect and that we're making changes and improvements, that they'll give us the chance to at least see what we can do. If we don't acknowledge it, I think they're likely just to assume that this is the new norm and move on, something that we all don't want to happen. I've also talked to our marketing firm about possibly creating a little bit of a campaign, not too dissimilar than the one where the CEO of Starbucks, when he stepped back in, kind of acknowledged that Starbucks had gone downhill and that he was going to bring it back up. You also saw this not too long ago with Domino's, when they kind of made fun of themselves and said how bad their quality of pizza had gotten and that they were going to do something about it. Or maybe it was Pizza Hut, but you get the idea. So that's something that we're going to be working with marketing folks on to come up with a campaign to help me there. Next up, I've asked Lisa to take ownership of the thing that I talked about at the last weekly update, which is the client cheat sheet project. What I want her to do is to figure out how can we have an easy to access directory of all of our clients where on a single page we can see the key information about the people in the company as well as the key information about the network. I've asked her to make sure that this is incredibly fast to access, very easy to read and interpret, and that very easy for people to update as we learn new information. I've also asked Lisa to take over a very important project, which is in the reactive department. I want to know how for every ticket that gets created, either by a phone call or an email, we set an expectation with the client as to when somebody's going to work on that ticket. Then furthermore, I want us to be able to track how well we're able to meet the expectation that we've set with the customer. So for example, somebody calls in, we say that we can get to this by the end of the day. I want us to set that as an expectation, record it, make sure the client is okay with that time frame, and then measure whether or not we were able to hit it. I think this is going to give us a lot of important information about what is and isn't working and how we can make changes to make sure that we can make promises to our clients that we know that we can meet. For myself, what I've decided to kind of put on my list that I'm going to champion is first and foremost getting everybody's role clearly defined with a metric of what success looks like. One of the things that I knew but especially became clear yesterday in the CrossFit-thon is just how much confusion there is about what everybody's job is and isn't. It wasn't even clear who's accountable for what. So what I'm going to do is work with OLT, with staff, with other members of the company to get very clear, easy to read descriptions of everybody's job. Not a generic job description that sounds good on paper, but something that really tells you, here's what your job is, here's what it looks like to do it well, here's what it looks like when you're not doing it well, and here's a metric that you can use to track your success. I want that for everybody in the company, and I want to get it done as fast as possible. It's going to take time, and it's going to be hard work to get it right, but know that I'm going to put a lot of time and resources into getting that done fast. Second, I'm really going to tackle L10 meeting health as I alluded to in the last update. I've got a training scheduled with all the facilitators of L10 meetings. I've got some follow-up work I'm going to be doing with them. I've got some videos I'm going to use to help them out. I'm also going to then be helping them in their meetings themselves to get better at doing and running their meetings. Finally, on my plate is going to be to also work on key workflows and processes across the company. Working with the different departments in the company to define what is the process by which tickets get created and escalated and resolved. What is the process by which we manage clients' networks? What's the process by which we manage clients' relationships? And getting really, really clear about what that works and how we do it. I also want to share with you guys a quick little update from yesterday at the CrossFit-thon, where one of the things we did was we came up with a mission for each of the different departments in the company to kind of help them understand how they contribute and collaborate and add to the company's mission statement. You'll be hearing a lot more about that. We're going to roll out some trainings and some information sessions, as well as other materials to help us really kind of take that information and run with it and integrate it into the company. So stay tuned for that. Finally, before I move on, I want to make it very clear that I have asked the OLT and other members of leadership, as well as other managers in the company, to make the initiatives that I just outlined their top priority. And I know that's a little bit of a challenge because we've told you guys before that this is the most important thing, or that's the most important thing, or that nothing trumps rocks, or nothing trumps accountabilities. And all of that is true. But what's tricky about right now is that the rocks that were set, some of which make a lot of sense right now, some make more sense later. But what we need to really do right now is make some progress. And there's some key things that need to get fixed. And now that we've had a chance to hear from you and hear from our clients, I want those to be the most important things we're working on. Now, that's what I've asked leadership and management to do. What I need you guys to do in between now and the end of the year is to continue to do what you've been asked to do, which is work as hard as you can to help us meet our billable and financial goals. We need to make sure that we're not making work harder on ourselves by starting off next year is further behind than we want to be. So I need you guys to continue to charge ahead, do everything you can to help us close the gap. And in the meantime, the leadership team is going to be really working to not only make things easier now, but really to set us up for next year going a lot smoother and easier than it's been on you guys. So if you can understand that that's going to be their priority and you can stick to your priority, I feel very confident that we're going to get there. All right, so I'll wrap up with a quick look ahead into next week. One meeting I'm excited about is as part of our kind of my promise to you guys about listening and having more transparency. We've put together a roundtable on Monday for a group of employees to help us understand what next steps might look like on implementing an unlimited PTO program or unlimited paid time off program. If you're not at the roundtable, that doesn't mean that we don't want to hear from you. It's just that we chose a few different people based on tenure, based on position, to get a good kind of diverse demographic together to start talking about this conversation. And again, this is just the first conversation, and it's just the first example of us really making sure that we're including your voices in these big decisions that are being made. Second, I've got a lot more Paragus time next week, and that's going to be a trend that you'll see continuing. I want to make sure I'm available to you guys, to OLT, and to anybody else who wants to sit down and talk and solve problems, especially and almost exclusively if they're the problems that have to do with the strategic initiatives that I just outlined. That's where I want our time to be. That's what I want the meetings that we're having to be about. That's what I want projects and initiatives to be aligned with. I want to make sure that we're putting those things first, and then nothing else is coming. Nothing else is taking priority over that. Third up, I've got a couple more listening meetings to go next week. I've got my final L10 with the CSL team, and then I've got another client meeting. This one is going to be with Tapestry Health. And then on Friday, I'm taking the OLT off-site for an entire day to just get shit done. We're going to spend an entire day chunking out the initiatives that I've outlined and finding ways that we can do accelerated, rapid progress and development on those initiatives in one day with no distractions, no cell phones, no interruptions, and we can just try to make a lot of progress to get you guys the results that you deserve. So that's my weekly address for this week. Again, please send me questions if you have them. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you guys all next week. It's going to be a good week. Thanks so much.